Every generation has its rumors about music legends, but these didn't stay in rumors. They showed up on stage night after night in front of real crowds. People left these concerts unsettled, trying to explain why something felt off. Before you go further, do three things. Turn the volume up, pay attention to the details, and keep watching, because the first story sets the tone for everything that comes after. Robert Johnson and the original bargain myth. Before rumors followed stadium tours, before cameras and contracts, before the industry learned how to clean things up, there was Robert Johnson moving from town to town with a guitar and a reputation that scared people. This story didn't spread through records. It spread through rooms. Small rooms, hot rooms, juke joints where people stood close enough to feel the music in their chest. That's where the myth took root. People who heard Johnson play in the late 1920s talked about reaction. Men went quiet. Women left the room. Some people said the air felt heavy when he started playing. Others said the room felt sharper, like everyone was suddenly too awake. Early on, Johnson wasn't special. Older bluesmen laughed at him. Son House later said Johnson couldn't play to save his life. Then Johnson vanished, not for years. Long enough to break routines, long enough for people to stop expecting him back. When he returned, he sounded like someone who already knew where every note belonged. That change happened on the road. Johnson moved constantly through Mississippi, Arkansas, and Texas, playing wherever someone would let him stand. Each stop added another witness. The Crossroads story followed him because people needed an explanation that fit what they were hearing. According to the story, Johnson took his guitar to a crossroads late at night, met a tall, dark figure, and walked away with skill that didn't come from practice. Johnson never told the story himself. He also never corrected anyone who did. What made people uneasy wasn't the rumor alone. It was the music. When he sang about hellhounds chasing him, listeners said it felt like a report. When he sang about being buried by the highway, people remembered it later as a warning. His voice carried urgency, like someone being followed. Touring amplified that feeling. Johnson didn't build comfort with an audience. He dropped in, changed the room, and left. Juke joint owners said drinking got heavier when he played. Fights broke out after sets. Some people swore bad luck followed nights he performed. Then came the death. Johnson collapsed after drinking whiskey offered by a stranger. Witnesses said he screamed, crawled, hallucinated, and begged for help. Some claimed he talked about dogs coming for him. The poisoning explanation never fully fit the symptoms. The paperwork never lined up. 3 graves claimed his body. That absence of certainty locked the myth in place. What matters is the pattern Johnson created. A musician who changes too fast. Touring behavior that unsettles people. Lyrics that feel personal and dangerous. A sudden death followed by missing records. That template didn't stay in the Delta, it traveled forward in time. Every later artist accused of making deals inherited that structure, whether they wanted it or not. Sly Stone and the night sessions that followed him on tour. By the late 1960s, Sly Stone was everywhere. Festivals, television, massive crowds. His music sounded joyful, rebellious, alive. But people traveling with him noticed patterns that had nothing to do with sound. These weren't one-off moments. They happened city after city. During tours, Sly shifted his schedule into the night. Rehearsals started after midnight, sometimes closer to 3 in the morning. He wanted lights off, curtains drawn, candles placed around equipment in circular layouts. Crew members said it stopped feeling like prep and started feeling like something else. No one could explain why, only that it kept happening. Band members later said Sly talked to empty spaces. He paused mid-rehearsal and whispered as if someone stood nearby. When asked, he brushed it off as inspiration. The problem was consistency. It didn't happen once. It followed the tour route. Same behavior in different cities, different venues, different hotels. Audiences noticed changes too. Sets stretched longer. Silence sat between songs. The energy shifted from celebratory to tense. People described shows feeling heavy even when the music stayed upbeat. Some fans left early, unsettled without knowing why. Others stayed glued, unable to look away. There were objects as well. Rings, jackets, symbols sewn into clothing that didn't match the public image. When asked, Sly called them protectors. He didn't explain what they protected him from. On tour, he refused certain dressing rooms. He rearranged spaces before entering. Some crew said candles were already burning when no one remembered lighting them. One roadie described a locked room in Sly's rented house during a tour stop. It stayed dark. Incense burned constantly. The smell never left. No one entered without Sly. When the house was later searched for drugs, that room went unmentioned in reports. The silence around it only fed rumors. As the tours continued, Sly's paranoia grew. He spoke about forces around him. He said something came with the fame. People close to him blamed drugs. Drugs explain some things. They don't explain repeated ritual-like behavior across multiple tours with dozens of witnesses. By the mid-1970s, Sly's collapse became public. Missed shows, disappearances, a genius unraveling in real time. What stayed private were the stories traded quietly among musicians and crew who believed whatever energized him early on didn't leave when the spotlight faded. And once those stories start circulating, they don't stop at one artist. They move forward, attaching themselves to the next performer whose live shows feel guided by something unseen. Jimi Hendrix and the Presence. He carried onto the stage. People who saw Jimi Hendrix live rarely talked about songs first. They talked about what it felt like to watch him play. Musicians in the crowd said his hands moved ahead of thought, like he already knew where the music needed to go. Road crew members said he changed during shows. His posture shifted. His eyes locked into a distant stare. It looked focused, but it also looked detached. On tour, Hendrix told people he didn't always feel alone when he played. He mentioned voices that brought melodies to him late at night. These weren't said in interviews meant to shock. They came up in private conversations with girlfriends, bandmates, and friends who later repeated the same details. A tall figure in the room. A presence standing in the corner. A sense of being watched after performances. His longtime partner described nights where Hendrix woke up sweating, convinced someone had been there. He spoke calmly, like he was reporting something that already happened. Before shows, he paced quietly. After shows, he sometimes sat alone, drained, like something had passed through him and left him empty. Other musicians noticed it too. Eric Clapton walked off stage after hearing Hendrix play, shaken and silent. Members of Cream, The Who, and other bands described feeling unsettled watching him. They couldn't explain why. They only knew they weren't seeing someone perform. They were seeing something happen. As tours progressed, Hendrix's sets stretched longer. Improvisations turned into extended loops. Notes repeated until the crowd fell quiet. People in the audience described losing track of time. Some said they felt locked in place, unable to look away. Security guards reported fans standing still long after songs ended. Hendrix's own words fed the unease. He said something played through him. He said he sometimes watched his hands from a distance. He talked about forces that wanted something back from him. Friends blamed exhaustion. Others blamed drugs. Those explanations didn't calm people who heard him say these things repeatedly across different tours. By 1970, the tone shifted. Hendrix became jumpy. He slept less. He spoke about being followed. He insisted hotel windows be covered. He worried someone wanted to take him before he finished what he was meant to do. His final tour felt tense to people around him. Crew members said the atmosphere backstage felt heavy. The night before his death, Hendrix reportedly told his partner that something was coming back. He didn't explain further. The next morning, he was gone. The official cause closed the case quickly. The unanswered questions stayed alive among the people who traveled with him. Prince and cymbal control on live stages. Prince ran his tours like systems. Nothing happened by accident. Crew members learned early that timing mattered. Sets started at exact moments. Rehearsals followed. Strict schedules tied to numbers Prince cared about. Lights shifted at specific beats. Colors changed on cue. Everything locked into place. Backstage access stayed limited. Rooms were closed. Curtains stayed drawn. Prince moved through venues along specific paths. Some crew members said he refused to enter spaces until adjustments were made. He didn't explain why. He didn't need to. People followed instructions without question. Costumes carried meaning. Symbols appeared repeatedly on clothing, instruments, stage backdrops. Fans saw branding. Insiders saw structure. Prince spoke about symbols as tools. He said they aligned energy. He said they opened channels. When asked to clarify, he stayed quiet. During tours, Prince sometimes stopped mid-performance and stared into dark areas of the stage. He whispered brief phrases and resumed playing. Musicians around him learned not to interrupt these moments. Lighting technicians noticed equipment glitching during certain songs. They wrote it off as coincidence until it kept happening. Prince's control extended to sound. Certain frequencies stayed emphasized. Songs repeated patterns that built slowly, drawing the audience into a steady rhythm. Fans described feeling pulled forward, focused, absorbed. Shows ended with crowds silent before applause broke out. In the 1990s, Prince removed his own name and replaced it with a symbol. Publicly, it related to contracts. Privately, people close to him said the symbol came to him during a late-night session. He described it as given, not designed. He treated it carefully. It appeared everywhere after that. Tours grew more secretive. Phones banned, cameras restricted. After-parties followed unusual rules. Guests reported dim lighting, geometric projections, and long pauses where Prince disappeared behind curtains before returning changed in mood. In his later years, Prince spoke about being watched. He checked doors repeatedly. Security footage disappeared. He told people dark forces existed in the industry. He said they listened. He said they waited. Even his final days carried the same tension. Beyoncé and accusations that followed stadium performances. The accusations around Beyoncé didn't grow in quiet rooms or fan forums alone. They exploded in public spaces during shows watched by millions at the same time. Stadium tours changed the scale. Every move was enlarged, every gesture replayed, every symbol frozen into clips that never stopped circulating. Fans started pointing things out during live performances, not album rollouts. Hand signs held a beat too long. Choreography that repeated shapes people already associated with secret groups. Costumes that leaned into crowns, eyes, animals, and mythic figures. On their own, none of it proved anything. Together, across tours, it created a pattern people kept returning to. Clergy reacted early. Sermons popped up after televised performances. Pastors paused clips and explained gestures frame by frame. They told congregations these were signals. Those sermons spread faster than any press release. Clips jumped from church streams to YouTube to TikTok in days. The alter ego story made things louder. Beyoncé talked openly about Sasha Fierce taking over on stage. She described it as a switch that flipped during performances. Fans heard confidence. Critics heard separation. Conspiracy circles heard possession language. Once that idea landed, every intense facial shift became evidence for someone. The Grammys performance during her pregnancy pushed the accusations further. The gold costume, the goddess imagery, the kneeling dancers, the slow ritual-paced movement. Viewers split instantly. Some saw celebration and power. Others saw ceremony. Clergy called it witchcraft on live television. Comment sections filled faster than explanations could. Then the legal filing changed everything. A former drummer accused Beyoncé of using dark practices to control her life. The claims included spells, monitoring, and harm. The case went nowhere in court. The documents stayed online. Screenshots traveled. The story shifted from rumor to paperwork with a date and signature. Reaction channels broke down Super Bowl footage next. Slowed clips showed facial expressions mid-movement that looked distorted when paused. One freeze frame turned into 1,000 thumbnails. People called it a demon face. Others called it camera timing. It didn't matter. The clip kept resurfacing. Renaissance tour visuals added fuel. Chrome bodies, horse imagery, masks, mirrors. Mythic references pulled from multiple cultures. Them fans saw art history and black queer tradition. Conspiracy spaces saw ritual language. Each side collected screenshots to prove their point. Large crowds made the difference. Stadiums turned personal interpretation into shared experience. People left shows buzzing, unsettled, or energized without knowing why. Social media gave them a place to compare notes. Once patterns felt shared, they hardened. Tina Turner and the escape from a claimed curse. Tina Turner's touring years with Ike carried stories that didn't fit neatly into interviews or documentaries. Crew members described tension that followed them city to city. They said the atmosphere changed depending on Ike's mood. People spoke carefully around him. They avoided certain rooms. They avoided certain topics. Musicians from that era later said Ike believed in power objects, items he kept close, candles, notes, symbols. These objects traveled with the tour. Some stayed in hotel rooms, others stayed backstage. People said they didn't touch them. No one wanted responsibility for moving them. There were claims of a locked room in their home. Crew members said Tina wasn't allowed inside. They described candles arranged in patterns and mirrors positioned facing each other. No official report ever confirmed it. Multiple people remembered it the same way. On tour, Tina's demeanor shifted over time. Early shows carried fear. She moved like someone bracing for impact. Her voice stayed strong. Her presence felt tight. Bandmates said she rarely relaxed. Even after applause, she stayed alert. The violence is documented. What stayed quieter were the moments that felt unreal. Tina later told friends that Ike's eyes changed during his rages. He went blank. He felt unreachable. People around them said the room felt different when those moments happened. By the early 1970s, Tina broke down. She attempted suicide. She spoke about feeling empty inside. Those words mattered to people who believed something beyond abuse was happening. They said it sounded like spiritual exhaustion. Then came the turning point. After a violent incident before a Dallas show, Tina ran barefoot across a freeway and hid in a hotel. A staff member remembered her sitting alone, humming softly. It wasn't prayer in English, it was chanting. Tina began practicing Buddhist chanting after that night. She did it constantly, backstage, on buses, in bathrooms. Crew members said the atmosphere around her changed. She stood straighter. She spoke more clearly. Ike grew more erratic. He accused her of breaking balance. No one knew what he meant. When Tina finally left Ike, she did it with almost nothing. No money, no security. Musicians saw it as escape. Others saw it as cutting a cord. After she left, Ike's career collapsed. Addiction took over. The band dissolved. Tina's solo tours felt different. People who worked both eras said it out loud. She looked lighter. Her presence filled rooms without tension. Her voice carried relief. She smiled more on stage. She laughed backstage. The fear didn't travel with her anymore. Some believed chanting saved her mentally. Others believed it saved her spiritually. Tina never confirmed either. She spoke about survival, not curses. The people around her kept their interpretations. What matters is how many witnesses noticed the same shift. Tours expose patterns. Night after night tells a story. Tina's story changed when she changed what she carried with her. That idea stays uncomfortable. It suggests touring environments hold more than music. They carry habits, objects, beliefs, and fears across cities. And once that idea settles in, it opens the door to the final question this series keeps circling. If these patterns repeat across generations, who carries them next? Pharrell Williams and the immortality rumor. The rumor around Pharrell didn't start as fear. It started as confusion. People noticed something off during live appearances, not interviews. On tour, fans standing close to the stage began saying the same thing to each other. He didn't move the way other performers did. His body stayed calm even during fast sets. His face barely changed, sweat never showed. Crew members noticed it first. During long rehearsals, dancers wiped their faces. Musicians grabbed towels. Pharrell stayed dry. Lighting techs said stage lights reacted oddly around him. Glare bounced differently off his skin. Some said it reflected light too cleanly, like glass. No one made a big deal of it at first. They just noticed it kept happening. Backstage encounters added more stories. Fans who met him described shaking his hand and feeling it colder than expected. Others said his pulse felt slow. Security laughed these things off until they heard the same details repeated in different cities.